but
Is that right?
but they're been back meeting a couple of weeks, and they got like over 600 students that are positive. And the state health department went out there and did this big contact investigation, and they released their results yesterday. And they said, we found no evidence of transmission to the classroom. Every one of these students was infected at an off-site event, most commonly a fraternity or sorority party.
Is that right? Yeah. No evidence of in class. Well, that's good to know.
That's what they said. It's all these people all these kids out there drinking beer at these fraternity and sorority parties. That's what it is.
And urban mixers, of course. Yeah. Wow.
Well, like I said, I feel really safe in the classroom. We're all 6 feet apart. We're all wearing a mask, they make everybody wipe their table down and everything. And so, and I tell you, I won't tolerate kids not wearing a mask. In fact, one guy today, his mask rode down below his nose. And after class, I said, you got to keep that mask over your nose. He said, well, I didn't mean to. It just slips down. And I said, well, I understand, but you got to cover your nose. I'm not going to let them be in there if they don't have a mask on.
He needs to get a bigger mask. I mean, some of those do fit. Some of them don't fit real well, and they do ride down. Yeah.
I don't fog up my glasses. Some of them do. Some of the ones I have to.
Yeah. I have a little bit of trouble with that. Fog up my glasses, and I tell you, after talking, if I have to talk very much continuously, I get kind of winded. It really affects me. So I have to just kind of slow down and take pauses and stuff, because it definitely makes a difference in terms of my breathing while I'm talking, trying to talk to the class.
I put one on whenever I leave here, usually walking the dog, even though, I don't need to necessarily, but I do in case you run across people. And trying to walk the dog, for, 20 minutes at a fairly quick pace with the mask is hard to do for me.
Yeah, it definitely affects the breathing. I saw a girl running today with one on. I thought, holy smoke, how you're doing that.
I've got one of these cloth things. It's more of a bandana type. It goes around my neck. So when I run, I have that on. If I pass somebody, I'll pull it up, for, 30 seconds it takes to pass somebody. And I can breathe through that thing okay.
What I've read too, the fogging problem, if you work like a bandana, would work great. The problem with the fogging is your air is going up, it doesn't, if the mask doesn't, if it fits tighter anywhere else except around your nose, then the air goes up there, and that's what fogs up your glasses. So I'm going to try to fix my, I paid like $8 a piece to get these HRC, Human Rights Campaign masks, and they're the worst. I mean, really, I could get those.
I've tried a bunch of different masks. My problem is they don't fit very good. I like them to fit kind of tight, and a lot of times they don't fit tight enough. So I got these little things you can put on the ear straps that tighten them down, and that helps a lot. I don't like them, and particularly if they're not tight and I talk, it tends to move up or down, I've tried a bunch of different masks. The school bought everybody masks, and they bought really expensive masks. Those are nice masks, they didn't get cheapos, but a lot of these kids are still wearing these paper masks. I'm not sure why, maybe just because they can throw them away. I'm not sure.
You can buy them at Target in bulk.
Yep. For a while there, you couldn't get anything like that. Right. Now they sell them everywhere.
So Ben, when if that girl if she came down with it, do they quarantine them in their particular room, or do they have a specific dorm that they take them to where they isolate them?
I don't know if she's on campus or off. On campus, for the on-campus students, they have special isolation rooms, and so they got a bunch. We've only got, I think, right now, last time I looked, like 7 students quarantining, but they got 100 rooms to quarantine people, so they're prepared.
I listened to a thing on the radio today. Some students, I can't remember, they're at some college where they moved them to this isolation dorm. They said, we're like prisoners and refugees here. They deliver our meals. We can't leave. Nobody talks to us. It's terrible. It's like being in jail.
Yeah, I saw a TV. They interviewed this kid. It looked like a fraternity house. There was one of these houses where there were a whole bunch of people, and they were all hanging out on the porch and everything. And the cop was out in the street, and he told this kid to come over, and he said, hey, I just looked up on the computer, and you tested positive for COVID. And the kid goes, he wasn't wearing a mask or anything. And he said, yeah. And the cop says, well, aren't you supposed to be like isolating? And he said, well, yeah, I'm here at the house. And he said, well, there shouldn't be 30 people out here too. I couldn't believe it. I'm also surprised, Rush, is this right that they can look up on the computer and see who's tested positive for COVID? I wouldn't figure they would have that information.
I don't know. That's supposed to be protected information. I don't know how law enforcement gets that. I don't know who. Again, that's a very complicated thing. You know, that's health information, but the college may be doing the test. You know.
Yeah, it could be the college. That could have been a college cop. I don't know who the cop was, and it could be the college has that information. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, you can get kids, do you? Students, can you?
What's that?
You can get information on your students if they've got it or not, can they? Do you? Or you don't know it?
Well, not technically. This student contacted me and let me know, but they did send an email to all the professors that this student has, and they said, now maybe they had her permission, maybe she agreed to, and it said, the email was to all her professors and said, you know, she's been exposed and she's going to be in quarantine for 14 days. And they said, please keep this confidential. You know, this is kind of private information. But they did send us an email. Now, again, it could be that they got her permission. I know early on they said that they didn't think they'd be able to let us know specific students. They could tell us, well, a student in your class maybe has been exposed, but they couldn't tell you who it was.
Yeah, that's probably a HIPAA violation. What they should do is say that you have a student in your class that's been exposed. Expect some absences, you know. That's probably in violation of the HIPAA rules to say this student, name the student, it's got a positive test. So,
well, I didn't have a positive test. She just said she'd been exposed. So maybe that makes a difference. I don't know. They didn't say she had a positive test. They just said she'd been exposed and she's quarantining. And I don't know. I really didn't expect to get that, but the student contacted me and let me know. You know, she was really open about it. So
it sounds like that's a good student. So a responsible student. So
yeah.
Say, Frank, we are going to. We're tentatively planning to go to Virginia that first week in October, and we were thinking, if depending on your schedule, of coming through Louisville, either on the front end or the back end of that trip. It's probably going to be like around between the 1st and 10th. I can let you know, and I don't know what your schedule is. We'll stay at a hotel, but we'd like to see you. So that's kind of a natural place for us to stop.
No, that'd be great. I don't have any plans. I'm not going anywhere. So no, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, if you and Bob are free, you know, we could even do breakfast there at that that high calorie. What was the name of that place? Definitely not cardiac friendly diet. So.
Burger Boy, that's the name of it, Burger Boy. It's this little dive. It's over about U of L. It's got good breakfast though, doesn't it? They serve breakfast 24 hours a day. It's open 360.
It definitely high calorie Southern diet. So.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. I don't have any plans, so.
Ben, I think we're going to put off the Texas trip until November, partly because, Diane it looks like Diane's going to be able to visit her mother in November.
Okay.
I don't know. We were thinking of maybe coming, I don't know. We haven't said it. You know, Diane's kind of eager to get down there and see her mother. She wanted to do it the first part of November. And we're saying maybe we'll come Thanksgiving. So I don't know, but so I think we're going to go to Virginia in October and then probably go to Albuquerque and then drive to Austin in November.
Yeah, we'd love to see you. And if you're here for Thanksgiving, you're welcome to come for Thanksgiving. We're going to have Thanksgiving here. So, and I think both our kids are coming, and I'm sure we'll invite Susanna and Craig and Reed if he's here. So, so you guys certainly welcome.
We might do that. We'll see. We've talked about both of those. Of course, you know, Thanksgiving is the latter part of November. I think Diane's kind of eager to get out and see her mother, and so I don't know. We'll let you know again. And I don't want to interfere with your schedule. You're still in school.
Yeah, we don't have any schedule. Nah, we don't have any schedule. So you won't interfere with that. So, and we're not going anywhere. You know, I'm kind of grounded. You know, they didn't want us traveling during the semester, so I'm not going anywhere. So I will be here regardless. So.
Well, you know, because I was thinking, you know, next weekend is my normal trip to San Francisco. And of course, that trip, the whole fair was canceled and I'm not flying. And of course, with the fires, I don't think this is the best time to go to California anyway, you know? I don't know, y'all probably don't get it, but we've had some haze here and they claim it's the smoke from the West Coast.
Oh no, we had terrible haze today. I mean, it's about the worst. You can't even see the mountains. I mean, usually you can see them. It's so hazy. I mean, they've got these health alerts out. You know, if you have asthma, you're not even supposed to leave your house.
Wow, is that right?
Yeah, and they say it's California fires. We had the Colorado fires earlier, but
I mean, by Friday, we're supposed to have the California fires, Washington fires here because of the jet stream, which is crazy. But a friend of mine, well, my friend that lives in San Francisco that used to live here, he's seen a picture from he works for CBS, from their lobby, and you couldn't see across the street. It was so, you know, the smoke was so dense. In the middle of the city, it was just crazy.
Is that right? Wow,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Scott and him, I think, have had a lot of trouble with the smoke. I don't think they've had much trouble with
Yeah, Scott sent some pictures where it's just really smoky, you know? I mean, well, you remember those several weeks ago, he said they had to close down the interstate. They had a bunch of wrecks on the interstate because the visibility was so low.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hey, what the pig roast, Frank? He said something about, you know, his friend. So was this not at their house? Was this at somebody else's place?
Somebody else's. That's the impression I got. Yeah, it was some friend of his that wanted to that had it. So I don't think it was at their house. But
Okay.
he sent those pictures. I was like, oh my God. And that's when I said, was it successful? And he showed like a bunch of bones left. You know, there wasn't much left.
Yeah.
It was successful.
Yeah, I got a kick out of it. It looks like he's got a pretty fancy setup now for it. I remember originally they just had kind of a pig thing propped up on some sticks, but looks like he's got a permanent thing to do it now.
Yeah, when I was there, he had sort of a barrel they'd sort of made into a spit. It looks like they've really got a nice one now. You know, the problem is, when I went and visited him and they did that, you know, on Friday night, it was on Saturday night. On Friday night, I flew in and Trey had gone and gotten the pig. They had about 15 or 20 people over there to help, you know, get the pig together that they had to do dinner for, you know. You know?
Dinner for the cooking the pig.
So then at like 2 o'clock in the morning, he gets up and starts the pig, you know, and it cooks all day. And the thing is, this thing rotates, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the pig gets so greasy that it starts slipping and it won't rotate anymore, you know, and so it's just burning on one side. And so they're trying. So he and several other guys are trying to like retie the pig up, and there's all this grease and all this fire and all this stuff. It was a mess. But it was good when it was all said and done. It was great, you know.
From those pictures, it looked pretty charbroiled on the outside.
I didn't remember it being like that. The year I was there was the first year too that they had like 4 different couples that brought their RVs and parked in their yard and were there for 3 days for that thing.
so Ben, we've had these they form these discussion groups at our church, kind of like you guys have had. And I guess we've had 3 meetings, and kind of one of the focuses has been on, you know, racism and how do you feel about it as a white person. Our church is 99.5% white. You know, I think we've got 3 black members or whatever. And one of the things they sort of ask, you know, is, can you think about, you know, your contact with the idea of racism back, you know, as a child or whatever. So anyway, Frank, I sort of tried to think about kind of back to Caddo Lake and Tom and Quietta Taylor, and I wrote a little thing. I'll send it to you. I'm not sure how accurate my memory is, but I'll send you a little thing about my recollections about Tom and Quietta, and then about my recollection is that at Mammy's funeral, Tom and Quietta, they didn't come into church, but they were outside the church in their car, and Mother kind of broke down about that. Anyway, I'll send you. My recollection may not be correct, but it doesn't probably really matter. You know, these stories, you know, the powerful thing is the story and not whether it's correct or not.
I don't remember because I was young, but at Uncle Bubba's funeral, Quietta came up, but I think she did not come in the church. I think she came up as we came outside the church. because mothers recognized her. Is that's
No, I think at Bubba's, Mandy had her come sit with the family.
Did she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true at Bubba's.
I think it was different. My recollection is that Mammy's funeral, Tom and Cuetta didn't come to the church. They parked there. Tom parked his old Ford truck out there, and mother was very composed. And then when she saw Tom's truck, she started to cry, and she ran up to Tom and Cuetta, and she invited to come to the funeral. Tom said, you know, that's not really a place where black people go. It's a Scottsville cemetery. And then when I got to, and I was nearly 13, when I got there to Scottsville Cemetery, I could see what Tom was talking about. You know, there are Confederate statues and Confederate flags and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
Cemeteries across the fence, you know, on the other side, you know, is the cemetery for all the blacks, if you remember, you know, and it's actually bigger than the Scottsville Cemetery. But see, I was young. I don't remember that at Mammy's if that happened. But and see,
I have no recollection of Mammy's funeral at all, and not much of Pappy's, just barely Pappy's. So.
I will say this though. I asked Lynn. I think I asked Mother before she died. You remember, Charlotte was the housekeeper at Pappy's. You know, she would be there when we'd go. She'd be there at 7:30 in the morning. Now she'd leave about 5 o'clock. And I said, she didn't drive a car. There was no car. I said, how'd she get there? Mother goes, I guess she walked. I don't know. I said, where'd she live? Well, I don't know. I said, how do you think she got there every day? There was no bus system. I asked Lynn Smith. She goes, well, there wasn't any bus. I guess she walked. And I thought, I can't imagine that. You know?
Yeah. That's a pretty segregated society, let me tell you. Maybe it still is today. Certainly was back then, for sure.
Well, I remember as a child asking Mother about Charlotte, about something. She goes, oh, well, she just lives, Mother just got to put, oh, she just lives over there. You know, Mother, she just lives over there. But, you know, who knows? And somebody may have picked her up. Somebody may have dropped her off and picked her up every day. But I bet you there's days she just walked. You know, who knows? It's really sad. I mean, it's sad. And like I said, I asked Lynn Smith. Lynn, she was like, well, I don't know. I never thought it. She goes, I never thought about it. I said, well, you know, what how to get to work, you know? Like when we were growing up, you know, we had May Dale. She drove. She had that car, you know. I've laughed about May because, you know, May, there were so many times May would like sit up at that bar smoking cigarettes and tell the mother what she needed to do, which I always thought was so funny.
Yeah. May didn't do a lot of cleaning. She did a lot of smoking and talking.
you know, I remember Tom and Cuetta, you know, they never ate with us. They ate in the kitchen. And it was always after our dinner was over and people cleared the dishes, they'd eat in the kitchen. And I remember Tom never came in the house to use the bathroom. You know, he used that privy outdoors. And I remember as a child thinking, you know, it's kind of weird, you know.
Yeah.
I asked the boss about Tom. He said he thought Tom and Cuetta had a daughter. He didn't know whether they had any grandchildren or not. He said they had a daughter.
But there was, I remember there was a girl that showed up, was there one day with them, and it was either their daughter or granddaughter. I was, for some reason, I was a granddaughter. It was like a teenager when we were little. And didn't Tom work during the week? I thought he like worked in the hospital or something. I don't know, maybe not.
I don't know. Boss told me during the war they had that munitions factory down there at Karnak, and that Tom drove a truck for them. But then after the war, that thing closed. You know, and he said he thought Tom and Cuetta tried to kind of eke out a living out of their, you know, raising vegetables or stuff.
You know, the house was down the road from the, you know, you passed it going to the lake house.
Yeah, it wasn't that far. So.
And it's about completely collapsed in, but it's still there, you know. And I don't think they had electricity or plumbing till about 1970 or something, you know.
And I'll send you this essay. I can remember Mammy. I actually now don't think it's true after I've kind of investigated this, but she claimed that Tom Taylor and Cuetta Taylor had the same last name before they got married, because all the slaves on the Taylor plantation were assigned Taylor as the last name, and that they had growing up, they were both Taylors, although they weren't really blood relatives. Now, I don't think that's true. It looks like the Taylor plantation there wasn't a Taylor. Anyway, I don't know whether that's true or not, but Mammy used to tell that story.
No,
Is that right?
was
Wow.
actually Taylors. No, it was the Scots had, the original Scots, they were the largest slave owners in Texas at one time before the Civil War. And I think the Taylors had a big group too, I don't know. They may have, because but before they were freed, a lot of them, didn't they take the last name of the?
That's what Mammy used to claim. Anyway, I can remember that story. Again, these are kind of vague memories. They may be incorrect. I do know that, Lady Bird Johnson was related to whoever was the Taylor in Karnak. She grew up down there. Lady Bird Johnson did.
That's where she grew up. And, Miss Gertrude was her private tutor. Taught the Taylor family. Yeah. They had the Taylor General Store down there in Karnak.
So Diane remembered stories about the Taylors. She was saying, yeah, I can remember that you're.
We used to pass it still there. There's a historic marker there. Because Bob and I drove by it when we were there. After Boss's birthday, we drove by it. He is concerned with Lady Bird Johnson and all of that stuff. And I said, yeah, the Taylors, the Lady Bird Taylor. It was, she was called Lady Bird because her when she was born, her nanny said she was pretty as a bird. That's what
So I'll send you my recollections again.
I'd like to see it. That'd be great.
I had a hard time pulling these things out of my memory, and those memories may be incorrect. I don't know.
Too is every time we would go to, maybe not every time, every time we go to Marshall, we'd get there like about noon or 11 o'clock in the morning, and Charlotte she had just baked a pound cake, one of Mammy's pound cake. It'd be still warm, we could smell it, and that's one of my memories. That's why I got the recipe. Because my memory was this pound cake that Charlotte would always cook when we were coming. Now, maybe that's not true. That's sort of what I remember.
Well, they certainly always had those big lunches. That was the main meal at dinner time. I certainly remember that. Had big meals and
big meals at lunch. I don't understand how you could having that big. You can go back to work after that.
Well, Pappy took a little nap after lunch, usually before he went back.
And it seemed like, again, I looked it up. Mammy died in 1965, like in February. I'd have been nearly 13. And my recollection, she was sick for a long time, maybe a couple of years or something.
I think she was bedridden for like a year back, it was bad. She had that colon cancer that just.
Bladder cancer.
I'm not sure, and I asked Boss about this. He and I he thinks she had bladder cancer. I thought she had uterine cancer.
No, I thought it was bladder cancer. That's what I've always thought. It's bladder cancer.
Was it? I thought she had a coffee bag though for a long time.
She did have a bag, and it leaked, and you go back there in that room and kind of smell the urine. Just an unpleasant situation. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Rush, we kept Rush is no longer audio. He somehow cut that off.
I'm up. Can you hear me now?
This other story, I don't know if y'all remember this. Mother told me, Pappy, because Pappy had prostate cancer, and at the time they told him, one of the things they could do is remove his testicles. And he told him, he told Mother, he goes, I told him, I don't really have a good use for him anymore, but they sure do dress a fella up.
Yeah, for that. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
He actually had that procedure done in Arlington. He came to Arlington, had that done. I remember visiting him in the hospital when he had that done. So,
and I think he took some radiation in Fort Worth. It seemed like he stayed with us for a month or so when we were in.
Is that right? I know Boss told me. I asked Boss about that one time. Boss said he had a couple metastases. He had one in his spine that they did with radiation. Then he said he had one in his neck that they took out a lymph node in the neck. And then of course, the guy, I asked Boss about his death. He said, well, he got kind of confused and was having some neurological stuff. And then he died within about a week of that, Boss said. So he said he wasn't sure what that was. I guess it's possible he had a brain metastasis. or I guess possibly had a stroke. Who knows? But
Well, I remember when he was getting close to dying. Mother was going back and forth to Marshall a lot, and I was in high school, and she been to Marshall, I guess, for a couple of days, and she came back, just had to pick me up at school. She came, I guess, directly from coming back, and I'll never forget it because she had on dark sunglasses, and she said she started to cry. she said, I was visiting. I said, Daddy, I'm here, and he said, Sister, you're never here. And she just started busting out and crying. And I tell you, there's nothing worse than having your mother cry. I just felt terrible for her. And I mean, I think she cried all the way home from Marshall. It was terrible. But I'm saying, that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't remember Mother crying much. I thought Mother was pretty stoic person.
Because like I said, there's nothing worse than seeing your mother cry. And like I said, she had these sunglasses, so I couldn't see her eyes, but I figured she was crying all the way home, 3 hours. It was bad. And I think he died like the next week. I think that was right at the end, I don't remember his funeral at all. I don't remember any. I don't remember Mammy's as young, but I don't remember these at all.
I remember Mammy's funeral a little bit, Pappy's funeral, and of course I remember Mother's funeral. Yeah, again, that's Scottsville Cemetery. That's a Civil War monument.
Well, I remember Uncle Bubba's. I do remember Uncle Bubba's real well. Because they had, there was a line of cars, with his. But I don't remember Pappy's. I don't remember. Of course, Mammy, I was 9. I don't remember it hardly. I don't remember any of that.
yeah, I don't remember Mammy's at all. Barely remember Pappy's funeral. Don't have much recollection of that.
I think Boss plans to be buried down there at Scottsville. We'll get to make another trip down there. And
Yeah,
he told me.
Absolutely.
Mother, so yeah, we will.
Yeah. Hey, Rush. He's really wheezing a bunch. Last week, I've noticed it's gotten worse over the last 4 or 5 months, but it's pretty bad. You think he ought to go see somebody about that? Is there anything they can do about that?
Maybe he should go see his primary care doc. Again, I told him I'd call him today after we got through with the brother. He always wants a report from the brother's call, So I told him I'd call him after dinner. Maybe he ought to go see his primary care doc. I would agree with you, Ben. I think I would guess the last 10 days or something. Every time I've talked to him, he's wheezing.
Yeah, pretty badly. I talked to him last night, and he was really wheezing. And usually when I ask him about it, he'll say, "Well, yeah, I'm kind of wheezing. Maybe it's allergies. I'm not sure what's causing it, but it gets a little better at times, but he's wheezing most of the time these days." And I did ask him when I saw him on Saturday. I asked him if he'd seen his doctor recently, and he said no, he hadn't seen his doctor. So I didn't ask him specifically about the wheezing. I just said, "Have you been to the doctor's office anytime recently?" And he said, "No, I really haven't."
He told me he went to the hearing aid people.
Yep.
He said
his hearing aids weren't working, but he got that working. And his hematology stuff's kind of cleared up. That's amazing.
I'll ask him about that. I thought he was due to go back to the hematologist sometime, but I don't know whether that's right or not.
I don't think so. Last time I asked him that a while ago, and I thought he said, "Well, no." He said they check my hemoglobin every so often, but as long as it's not getting worse. He said last time it was checked, he said it wasn't quite back to normal, but pretty close.
And his eye is all done. Wasn't he doing eye? What was the eye stuff he was doing?
No, he's still doing that. He goes every couple of months or so. He gets these eye injections, inject this stuff in his eyes for his macular degeneration. But yeah, he's still doing that. I take him to those. It goes about every couple of months we go for that.
Well, that's too bad. The wheezing bothers me, but I would think there'll be some medication you can take for I mean, I do take medication for that. You know, I hope.
Yeah, I wondered if he could get on an inhaler or to get on some steroids or something might help, but
I'll ask him what he's on and what he's taking. And, you know, he kind of doctors himself. You know, he'll call me and say, can you call this in for me? I said, well, have you checked with your doctor about that? Oh, yeah, he doesn't care, you know. I said, all right. So.
Well, you know, I'm not the only one that called you.
And you got your medicines okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to need to go and finish up dinner here. So,
all right.
anyway.
Yeah, it's good to talk with you guys.
Frank, again, always thank you for setting this up. This is really
Yeah.
nice.
Thanks a bunch.
You know what that picture was, when that picture was taken? I wondered if that was Easter or something with Mother and Sarah. I thought it was such a beautiful picture.
Yeah, it is. It was taken at that house in Hewitt. I don't know when. Probably was a holiday, I would guess, Easter or something, Thanksgiving. But yeah, it's a really pretty picture. I really like that. I showed that to Marlene. She got a big kick out of that. So.
Well, I thought so too. Well, all right. Well, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
Thanks a bunch.
Bye-bye.